Hello everybody, this is part 2 of our SOHCAHTOA series of lessons. The first video you guys saw talked about tangent and how the tangent of an angle, this angle right here if we're talking about this triangle, gave you the ratio of this side to this side, which is really rise over run or slope. Tangent is actually called a slope ratio because it tells you the ratio of this side, which is the rise, to this side, which is the run. And again, rise over run being slope. But what if you have information about the hypotenuse and you don't care about either the rise or the run? Then what? Well, there's other trig ratios that we can use. Tangent is only one of 3 tools, the other 2 being sine and cosine. Now before I get too far into this, I want to explain what this word SOHCAHTOA means. It means the sine of an angle is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So let's write that down. Sine of an angle equals the opposite side over the hypotenuse. The cosine of an angle is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. A is adjacent, means next to. Adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent we already talked about. The tangent of an angle is the opposite side over the adjacent side. So this word, this SOHCAHTOA, if you can remember how it's spelled, can help you figure out whether you're supposed to use sine, cosine, or tangent. Let's take a look here. So the first thing we got to do is to figure out which sides are which. The side that's across from the 90 degrees, that is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to put an H there. This is the angle that we're dealing with. The side that's across or opposite that angle, that's the opposite side. I'm going to put an O. And the other side is the adjacent side. So we've got the opposite, or we're looking for the opposite side, and we know the adjacent side. Opposite and adjacent is together over here. That means we use tangent. We can see opposite and adjacent together over here too. So we're going to say the tangent of 32 degrees, angle always comes after the sine, cosine of the tangent, equals the opposite side over the adjacent side. So when you're using tangent, opposite always goes on top. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, now you use your calculator. This is just like we did in the first video. Figure out what the tangent of 32 is. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to put this over 1. Tangent of 32 is just a number. Here it is. It's 0.624869352. It's a whole bunch of digits, and I really don't want to write all those digits down. It's a pain. It takes a lot of time. It's easy to transpose numbers or write the wrong one down. So I'm not going to write them down. I'm going to show you how to do this without writing them down. So, but let's just know for now that this tangent of 32, it is a number. It's 0.62, yada, 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 yada. So in order to solve this, we're going to put it over 1 and then cross multiply. So x times 1 is x. And then we get 5 times the tangent of 32. And I'm going to write it just like that. 5 times the tangent of 32. Now that's what I'm going to put in my calculator. 5 times the tangent of 32 degrees. Now this will take all those digits we saw without me having to type all of them for tangent of 32. And it's going to take all of them into account. And there is our answer. It is about 3.1 units. So our answer is 3.1. And there we go. Let's take a look at this one. Again, first we need to figure out what side's opposite, what side's adjacent, what side's hypotenuse. Now, the one that's across from the 90 degrees, that's the hypotenuse. 50 is the angle that we have, and the one that's across from that, or opposite that, is the opposite side. The other side is the adjacent side. Now this time we have adjacent and hypotenuse. Those are the ones that, adjacent is the one we have, hypotenuse is the one we're looking for. So we got to look for adjacent and hypotenuse together, and that's right here in the middle. Adjacent and hypotenuse are here. That means we use cosine. cosine of 50 degrees, the angle always comes after the sine, cosine, or tangent, equals the adjacent side. Remember, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. You can see it up here. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent is 11 over hypotenuse is x. I'm going to run out of room here. That's okay. So just like before, put this over 1 and then cross multiply. 11 times 1 is, I'm going to go down here. I ran out of room. 11 times 1 is 11. Then we got x times the cosine of 50. Now remember, cosine of 50 is just a number. If that was a 5, we'd have 5x equals 11, and you'd divide both sides by 5. Well, it's the same idea here. We're just going to divide by the cosine of 50. I know that's a number. I don't know what it is, but I know it's a number. And in order to get x by itself, I need those to cancel. So I'm going to divide both sides by cosine 50. And I get x equals. Now this I can put into my calculator. A cosine of 50 is a big long decimal. I don't want to have to write them all down or remember them. I can just type it just like that into my calculator. 11, divided by cosine this time of 50. And there's my answer, about 17.1 to the nearest tenth. Let's take a look at this last one. Again, let's figure out which side's opposite, which side's adjacent, which side's hypotenuse. The one that's across from the 90, that is the hypotenuse. Here's the angle we have. The one that crossed from that one, or the one opposite that one, is the opposite side. The other side's the adjacent side. Now we're looking for the opposite side. We know the hypotenuse. Opposite and hypotenuse are together over here, opposite and hypotenuse, so we use sine this time. Looks like sin, it's pronounced sine. Sine of 19 degrees equals the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Sine is always opposite over hypotenuse. Here, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite side goes on top. It will not always be the x, and we saw that here. X is not always on top. So be careful as you're setting those up. So same thing before, put it over 1 and cross multiply. X times 1 is x. And then we get 12 times the sine of 19 degrees. So this is already solved for x, kind of like the tangent one was over here. So we don't have to do this dividing step that we had to do the second time. So all we do is 12 times the cosine of, I meant sine, sorry, wrong one, sine of 19. And I get about 3.9. And there is my answer. Hope that makes sense. If not, do a little more research, get some help in class. We'll see you later. Bye.